Okay, Beatrice, I feel like they're trying to move into a way so that they're trying. I know what they're doing. They're trying to make Beatrice look very sympathetic so we can, again, sympathize with, so we can like her. They're trying to redeem her. I know that's what's going on. That's why they got Ava Beatrice. They got Ava Beatrice, and they're showing her being very nasty, very evil, very mean, and they're doing that to kind of lessen what Beato did so that we would start to like her a little bit more. And maybe, and not just that, not just making Ava Beatrice worse, but also making Beato, making her very sympathetic, again, like I just said, by making her cry a lot, making her almost seem like she's being bullied by Battler, making her very just very sad, right? Very sad, very sympathetic, making her seem very as if we're bullying her, Battler's bullying her, so we can grow to like her through sympathy, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe like her. I feel like that's what they're trying to do, right? Let's just go ahead and start. This episode is gonna be a little long. By the way, guys, we're so close to finishing episode 3 and then episode 4, the final one, and then we go to answers. 30 minutes had already passed since Rudolph's group had left the guest house. By any measure, their return was too late, and Kraus and Natsuhi, who were waiting by the entrance, were by now about as restless as they could stand. I've been thinking about, I think about Umineko when I'm at work. I thought about Natsuki today, man. She is so cute. I love her. The chain was set on the door. That was a precaution in the event that Rudolph's group was attacked and the master key was stolen from them. For that reason, they needed to wait by the entrance like this for the others to return. Oh, there she is. There she is. You know what? Fuck it. I love Natsuki so fucking much. I love her. Kraus glanced between the clock and the door, struggling to feign composure. No, they're coming back. They're coming back. They were affected by magic, otherwise known as hunger. Also known as. Right.
これでゲストハウスに大人は3人。私と夏希。そして高熱で寝込んでいるエヴァだけだ。
At that time, there was the forceful sound from the hallway of a door being opened, and Eva's shrieking voice. That voice kept calling Hideyoshi's name. It seemed as though the high fever had given her a bad dream or something, and now she was calling her husband's name.
Eva-san, どうしましたか? 大丈夫ですか? うちの人はどこ? うちの人がいないの. ずっと一緒にいるって約束してくれたのに. ずっと手を握ってくれてるって約束したのに.
They're making her seem just as sympathetic. Kraus was taken aback by this attitude of hers, which she had never shown in front of him before, but Natsuhi understood her feelings.
落ち着いて。秀吉さんはルドルフさんたちと一緒に今表へ出ています。
Uh-oh.
表へ？どうしてよ。私とずっと一緒にいてくれるって約束したのに。どうして表になんか行ってるの？表へ出てはダメ。表には魔女がいるわ。行ってはダメ。殺されてしまう。
Oh jeez, holy shit, that voice acting. That is perfect.
落ち着きなさい。秀吉さんはルドルフたちと一緒に屋敷へ戻っているのだ。
どうして屋敷に行かなくちゃいけないのよ。ここなら安全なのに、どうして表になんか出したのよ。どうして屋敷なんかに戻ったのよ。
明日までの食料を取りに行くことになったのだ。秀吉さんは お前の体調が悪いことを気にしてて。
いつ戻ってくるの？いつ戻ってくるのよ。表はダメよ。バラ庭園はダメ。屋敷はダメ。
Well, too late.
黄金の魔女が歩き回ってる。
Too late. He's already in the mansion.
殺されてしまう。絶対に殺されてしまう。
Well,
うちの人はいつ戻ってくるの？
I don't think he's coming back, baby.
30分前にここを出ました。私たちは帰りを待っています。30分？そんなのおかしいじゃない。屋敷に行って食料を取って帰ってくるのに、どうしてそんなに時間がかかるのよ。それであんたたちはなんでここでぼんやりしてるのよ。迎えに行かなきゃ。早くあの人のところへ行かなきゃ。
Ava had probably had quite a nightmare, and after waking up and discovering that it still wasn't over, she could no longer hide her confusion. Natsuki tried calming her down, but it only made Ava's emotions explode all the more. Maybe they heard that disturbance. The lobby door opened slightly, and Battler and the kids, who should have been upstairs, poked their faces out. We haven't seen them. They haven't been that prominent for a while now. I miss them. Kraus, Natsuki, Eva, and Battler, Georgie, Jessica, and Nanjo. Everyone in the guest house was gathered by the entrance and understood the current situation.
母さんの意見に同感だよ。父さんたちの様子を確かめに行くべきだ。まあ、そうだな。荷物が大きくなって手間取ってる可能性だってあるぜ。人手は歓迎のはずさ。
ローザさんが襲われてすぐですぞ。二次遭難の可能性もあります。ここは一つ慎重に。
バカを言わないで。慎重に何よ。助けを求めてるかもしれない主人を見殺しにしろというの。私が様子を見に行くわ。臆病者はここで待っていなさい。
Oh, girl. You just said there's a killer on the loose. Looking agitated, Ava raised her gun. When the fuck isn't she? Judging by her expression, it would be useless for anyone to try and stop her. Georgie, who realized that at first, raised his hand. I mean, George.
僕も行こう。バトラ君も来るだろう。人数が多い方がいい。
Look at him, slow, like very subtly pressuring him. No, but not really.
来るなっ
Yes,
て言
we'll
ったっ
go.
てついてくぜ。
We'll go. Anything for my boy George.
私も行くよ。
Oh, girl. I don't know
私だ
about
け安
that.
全なところに隠れてなんかいられないぜ。
Oh, your
ジェシカは出
parents.
てはなりません。ここに私といるのです。良いですね。
She was essentially implying that those three had already been killed anyway, so it was pointless to go outside. Natsuki also realized that, and she made a deep gouge in Ava's heart. But she said those words strongly as Jessica's mother.
そうね。
That's right.
それがいいでしょうね。兄さんたち一家はゲストハウスで留守番してて、これはうちの家族とバトラ君の家族の問題よ。
Oh.
あと南條先生も来てもらえるかしら。万が一のこともあるかもしれないから。
Very softly pressuring, but that's okay, I guess. Maybe not? I don't know. I mean, I would go if I was Nanjo. Just because it seems exciting. It's fucked up to say it. Oh, shit.
バトラ、エヴァ、ジョージ、南條の4人は屋敷のホールにて、ルドルフ、キリエ、
Oh, God.
秀吉の3人の遺体を
I
発
thought they were
見
gonna。say, I thought we cut to all of them being dead. Like Battler and them. No, but okay, we found them.
第4から第6の番ってことか。なら死体には、額、胸、腹にそれぞれ、例の悪魔の杭が。
はい。ルドルフの額に1本、秀吉の胸に1本、そしてキリエの腹部に1本、悪魔の杭が打ち込まれています。3人には争ったか、あるいは逃げ回るかしたと思われる着衣の乱れがあります。3人の遺体は寄り添ってはおらず、犯人と遭遇後、ある程度の抵抗を試みたと推定されます。
杭で、額と胸と腹を、とか、相変わらず、無芸。
Even though Renov knew it would be superfluous. Jeez, fuck me. Superfluous. I feel like I'm saying that just barely wrong. He thought that maybe he should tell Battler. In actuality, the witch had killed them in a much more horrible way. Beato had advised the witch to restrain herself, which was why the corpses had been left so undamaged. The new and brutal witch, thinking that all she needed to do was get the gouged with a stake part right, might even have just stuck a stake into a lump of meat that wasn't even shaped like a human. Rose and Maria's corpses would probably have been especially striking. If they had been killed as the Golden Witch had wished, just how gruesome would the exposed corpses have been? Beato had changed that into a kind of killing that Battler would have called still better. Wanting to have Beato's small bit of thoughtfulness appreciated, he thought of telling Battler about that. I don't think he'd like that. But for Battler, that might do more harm than good. To humans, the gap between being alive and being dead is very large. To ask for Beato's feelings to be accommodated on the grounds that she had changed it to a better way of dying might have made it possible for a demon to pardon her, but there was no way it would work the same way for a human. Understanding this, Renaud remained silent, even though he knew of Beato's modest effort.
いつも通り、死体の死亡確認からさせてもらうぜ。ロノウェ、赤で宣言を頼む。おい、聞こえないのか赤で宣言を頼む。副将要求だ。ルドルフ、キリエ、秀吉の3名は死亡している。
Would that be a big piece taken away
申し
for
訳ご
Renaud?
ざいません。副将を拒否させていただきます。
なんだ
Okay, Renaud.
いきなり、どういうつもりだ
By now, proclaiming the death of the victims in red was almost a given in this battle. Refusing to do that was almost like losing by default. So when Renaud declined as his first move, Battler was dumbfounded. So he just gave up?
申し訳ございません。私めのお嬢様の代行者である資格をこれをもって返上させていただきます。
What? He gives up?
よって私にはそれを赤で復唱することができません。
What the fuck? He
それを
just
復
gave
唱
up?
する資格があるのはお嬢様ただ一人だけでございます。
Oh, so now Battler has to look at fucking Beatrice and talk to her. Oh, wow. I did not expect this.
ロノウェはベアト側の代行者でしかありません。ロノウェが代行の役を負り、かつバトラ君がベアトを相手として認めないならば、
Then what happens?
新しい代行者を立てる必要があります。
A new agent?
新しき代行者はおりません。どうかバトラ様、お嬢様を再び対局の相手とお認めください。
Was the bottom of his eyes always, did they always have that slight shadow?
悪いが、そいつは聞けねえ相談だぜ。あの不愉快な残酷野郎。俺は絶対に対局者だなどと認めない。
Ruthless bitch, she is.
それを認めないために、俺はこのゲームを降りないんだ。
不愉快な点につきましては、お嬢様に代わりまして謝罪します。また、お嬢様には二度と不愉快な言動を取らぬよう制約させます。
どうだかな。
バトラ君、あの子の師匠として私も謝罪します。よく言って聞かせますので、どうか一度だけ許してやってはくれませんか？
Forgive? What do you mean by forgive? What is there to forgive?
おいおい、よしてくれよ。まるで俺が悪者みてえだぜ。
Exactly. Like what?
それに、あんたらにいくら謝罪の言葉を聞かされても、俺の耳には届かない。
Well, they have nothing to do. They can't apologize in her stead.
そいつは、
That's not how it
ベアトが
works.
自分の口で言えるってんなら、まあ、耳を貸さねえこともないぜ。
He's gonna still ignore her?
わかりました。それがあの子を再び認めてもらう唯一の条件ならば、 あの子に謝罪をさせましょう。
Right, an apology. How about stopping all of this, period?
ロノウへ、あの子を呼びなさい。よろしいですね、バトラ君。
好きにしろよ。
And again, the way that this music, right, is supposed to be very sentimental, very somber. They're trying so hard to make us fucking feel bad for her.
俺が許すと期待するな。呼べよ。あのムカつく魔女。
ありがとうございます、バトラ様。ただいま、お呼びいたします。
Okay.
お嬢様、バトラ様がお呼びでございます。
No, the bitch is appearing! After a few heartbeats, gold butterflies gathered together in midair and created Beato's form. It was much more docile than the way she had appeared before now.
呼んだかロノウへ。
Oh, act like you don't know why you're here, bitch.
話は聞いていたはずですよ。
Right.
あなたの口か
Again,
ら
she's playing
何か言うことはありますか？
very coy. What'd I tell you? Look, the way they're making her portrait so fucking sympathetic. She looks like an injured animal, a wounded animal. It looked as though Beato shrunk slightly under Battler's cold gaze. How dare she? What is there to fear? She killed him like 50 billion times already. Several times, Beato made an effort to get the words out of her mouth, but that didn't work so well. She's not used to that? And she was just as awkward as someone trying to light a match during a freezing winter with frozen hands. Even as she did that, the game board was proceeding. In the hall, they had just found the bodies of the new victims and had broken down crying. And they were badass too, both of them. I believe that's what you call, I think that's what you call a power couple. I could be wrong. It was her ambition that did this.
母さん、しっかりして。僕だって悔しい、悲しい。
おそらく即死だったでしょう。たとえ彼らが倒れた直後に我々がここに訪れたとしても、きっと手遅れだったに違いありません。
I hope Ava doesn't explode on
いえ
him.
違うわ。きっと生きてたわよ。胸にこんなものを刺されて、うちの人ももがき苦しみながら死んでいったに違いないのよ。もっと早く来ていればきっと助かった、きっと助かったのよ。
バトラ君も辛いだろうけど、しっかり。大丈夫だよ。大丈夫だぜ。兄貴、もうちょっとだけ泣かせてくれ。
My boy Battler, he's always parentless in the end.
俺が一番マシなんだ。俺が一番悲しくないはずなんだ。だからもうちょっとだけ泣いたら大丈夫だから。そんなことないよ。両親を失った心の痛みはよくわかる。僕には母さんがまだいる。バトラ君よりはるかにマシだ。いや違うぜ。ジョージの兄貴が一番辛いはずなんだ。分かってんだよ兄貴。ジョージの兄貴が俺たちの中で一番悲しくて辛いんだ。俺はそれを分かってる。だからこれ以上 メソメソなんて泣いちゃいけねえんだ。どうして僕の方が辛いなんて。俺にとっちゃ親父もキリエさんも成人して独り立ちしたらいつかは別れる人間さ。親である以上子供より先に死ぬのは宿命だ。それが少し早くなっちまっただけの話だぜ。だが兄貴は違うぜ。いつか別れる親だけじゃない。これからの人生をずっと一緒に生きていくはずのシャノンちゃんまで失ったんじゃないかよ。人の命に重さなんかねえさ。赤ん坊の命だって、年寄りの命だって。だがよ、それからの人生が長ければ長いほど、一緒に築いてく未来が長ければ長いほど、その死ってのは悲しいものなんじゃねえのかよ。兄貴は、シャノンちゃんと婚約したんだろ。これからの人生と家庭を一緒に築いていこうって約束したんだろ。その未来のデカさが、幸せのデカさがよ、俺の痛みなんかとは比べ物にならねえ。だから、兄貴はもっともっと泣いても許されるはずなんだ。なのに、俺たちいとこの兄貴格だからって、無理に冷静を装って、やめてよ、バトラ君。
Yeah, what are you trying to do? Make him cry? George was trying to make a calm smile, but he couldn't any longer stop a single hot tear from leaving a streak down his face.
悲しくないわけがないじゃないか。僕はシャノンと一緒にたくさんの未来を思い描き合ったさ。きっと100年の人生では叶えきれないくらいの夢を語り合ったさ。その夢の一番最初の籍を入れることさえ叶えられなくて、悲しくないわけがないじゃないか。それに比べたら俺なんか、だから俺にはこれ以上泣く資格なんかねえんだ。兄貴だってこらえてるのに、俺にこれ以上の涙を流す資格なんて。同じだよ。親しい人を失えば悲しいのは僕もバトラ君も同じだよ。だからバトラ君が僕より涙を流してはいけないなんてルールはない。そして僕だってもうこれ以上涙をこらえなければならないなんてルールも。兄貴、兄貴、未来を語り合ったシャノンが死んだ。父さんも死んだ。悲しいな。悲しいな。
As Battler and George tightly hugged each other, they cried a waterfall of tears over each other's shoulders for those people important to them. They're hugging!
どうして俺がジョージの兄貴が一番辛いって言ったかわかるか？
The hell? They speak in English?
聞いていたからわかる。その後の人生を共にする時間の長さ、悲しみは比例すると。
もちろんそれだけじゃ測れねえけどな。俺たち人間はお前ら魔女とは違う。生きてから死ぬまでという有限の時間をその力の限り生きている。それをないがしろにする奴は許せない。ましてや 嘲笑いもてあそぶようなやつは絶対に許せない。お前のような死の概念もめちゃくちゃなやつには理解もできねえだろうがよ。これから生きる時間の長さだけじゃない、一生懸命に生きているやつの人生を嘲笑うこと、これが一番俺には許せねえんだ。ジョージの兄貴はがむしゃらに頑張って人生を生きてた。シャノンちゃんと結婚するために悲壮な覚悟をしてこの日に臨んでいたはずなんだ。俺みたいに久しぶりにいとこと会えるなんて浮かれてたやつとはわけが違う。
しかしだな。
ベアト、今は黙って聞きなさい。
お前の言い分に一定の理解をする。お前には自分の復活のためにおかしな碑文に沿った殺人を続ける必要があるってことだから、その範囲内でのお前の殺人はお前の立場の事情を汲み取る限りそれがお前にとっては必要な行為だからだ。ならそれ以上の不要な行為は全て、つまり第一の晩に6人を殺すことまでがお前にとっての必要な行為なら、顔を砕くとか腹を裂いてお菓子を詰め込むなんて真似は全て全く不必要なお前の残酷趣味だってことに、俺はお前のこの点についてだ。お前はローザおばさんがひどい殺され方を繰り返されたのに、結局は最後には生き返らせるのだから、どう殺したっていいじゃないかみたいなことを言ったそうだ。ワルギリアに聞いてるぜ。
それは
最後には生き返るなら何度殺してもいいという考えは、命をもてあそぶだけの全く不必要な行為ではないのか。殺すなら人思いに殺せ。もてあそぶな。殺さないならいたぶるな。お前は人の命を自在に操れるのをいいことに、命の尊厳を忘れてしまった。だから俺は認められないんだ。
Right. She really is cruel.
重みを、そして失った時の悲しみを知らない奴を俺は対戦相手だと断じて認められない。
無限の魔法が邪法と言われるゆえんです。無限の魔女に有限の概念はない。壊す、殺すという有限と終焉の概念がないのです。それゆえに無限の魔女は時に生と死の狭間をゴム跳びで遊ぶかのように、その行き来を遊び出すようになります。それはとてもとても恐ろしいことです。だから私は無限の魔女として自ら望み、あなたの域まで達しなかったのです。
Virgilia had told Beato that countless times before, but Beato had been too young to obediently listen to those words. She had been too wild. She had been possessed by that detestable pleasure.
壺を割ってはならぬと言われてきた。でもだからこそいつか割ってみたいと思っていた。
You like that? Doing what you're told not to do.
そして無限の魔法を得て、いくら壊しても好きなだけ元に直せると知ったとき、わらわは壺を壊すことがこれほどまでに楽しかったのかと。
それを禁忌の蜜と呼びます。人はその中身に惹かれるのではない。それを封ずる錠前に惹かれるのです。実に嘆かわしいことです。
ワルギリアに聞きたい。無限の魔法なんてものがどうしてある？それは何のためにこの世にあるんだ？
無限の魔法に限らず、魔法はすべて人の世に幸福をもたらすために存在するのです。 今さらバトラ君には信じがたいでしょうが、私たち魔女は人の世に恵みを与えるために
It is difficult to believe.
人と人ならざる者たちとの架け橋になるべく修行を重ねているのです。
死者を繰り返し蘇らせ、何度もいじめ殺すことでどう人の世に役立つってんだ。
大切な形見の壺が割れてしまった時、それを直すことで誰もが笑顔を取り戻すならば、私は何度でも魔法にて直すでしょう。しかしそれは壊すために直すのではありません。人に幸福を与えるために蘇らせるのです。
だとしたらベアト、お前は無限の魔女。今俺は漠然と思ったことがある。どうして俺がお前とはこんなおかしなゲームを延々と続けてるのかな。
That's what I'm wondering myself. Why?
これは俺を屈服させるためのゲームじゃない。お前が本当の意味で無限の魔女に認められるための試験ではないのかってな。
What? Wait. Okay, hold on. This isn't a game to make me submit. Couldn't it be a test for you to be accepted as an endless witch in its true meaning?
知らぬわ。わらわがそなたにゲームを申し込んでいるのは単なる暇つぶしだ。誰の思惑でもないわ。
俺は今バルギリアからの魔女の定義を聞いた。それによるならばベアト、お前は魔女ですらない。その修行の途中で自らの力を誤解した見習いってことになる。これは魔女と人間の戦いのはず。ならば魔女でないお前に俺の相手としての資格はない。わかる。
わらわがまだ見習い風情だと申すか。ならばわらわはいつそなたの対戦相手だと再び認められるのか。いつこのゲームを再開できるというのか。
さあな、それは少なくとも今じゃない。お前が俺の言った話をちゃんと理解できて本当の魔女になった時、俺はお前を再びゲームの対戦相手だと認めるだろうよ。
そのような抽象的な言い方では分からぬ。どうすればお前の許しを超えるのか、はっきりと聞かせよ。
いいや、
She's
これで
begging
十分
for
だ。あとはお前が考えろ。俺が言いたいのは以上だ。理解ができないならワルギリアやロノウェに相談してみろ。お前みたいなガキンチョはまず大人の言葉に耳を傾けるところから始めやがれ。ワルギリア、ゲームは一度中断する。ロノウェが代行を降りた以上、あとはベアトが対局者としてふさわしい資格を持つのを待つしかない。
Wow, okay.
了解しました。ベアト
We can
が
just do
その
that?
資格を得たと認められるまでゲームを対局者不在のまま進行させます。
So wait a minute. Until... So, okay. So she's gonna completely
ベアト
change.
もそれでよろしいですね。
異論はない。わらわは時間とゆっくり考えられる場所が欲しい。
Dude, I did not expect it.
これにて
I
席を
really
外
didn't
しても
expect
よい。
this.
ああ、いいぜ。
それではまた。
待てよ。そうしょぼくれと顔すんな。
それはすまぬな。わらわは胸の内がすべて顔に出る勝負。
Oh, so she doesn't deceive. Okay. What? I literally just... Oh shit, look at me. Oh shit, am I reading? So I'm understanding it so well.
ならまだ構成の余地はあるってことだぜ。一つだけ約束する。俺はお前とのゲームに 勝つかもしれないし、負けるかもしれない。お前が戻ってこなけりゃ不戦勝ってこともあるだろうよ。
At that point, Battler stopped talking for a second. Then he spoke forcefully.
しかし絶対に俺からは降りない。お前を不戦勝にだけは絶対にしない。お前が再び俺の好敵手としてそこに座るのを俺はずっとここで待っているぞ。
Look at him fucking stepping up.
ありがとうバカ。わらわはきっとそなたに認められて戻ってくるぞ。
Look at him being so being bossy as shit. Beato showed him a very slightly hopeful smile and disappeared. Looking at that expression, Battler strongly believed that her face could tell no lies. I hope that's the truth. Oh, it's raining? It's about to rain where I live. It's about to rain for a week straight, actually. The 7 survivors returned to the guest house once again. By now, it was clear that those who went outside would not be able to return alive. Rudolph's group had gone out holding 2 guns and 1 master key. But those had been lost. It was more than clear by now that they had been stolen by the culprits. Since the windows were closed with the shutters, they wouldn't open even if the culprit had the master key. They sealed the front door and all other doors outside with chains, and further blocked them with sofas and tables. Even if the culprit decided to break in through violent means, it wouldn't be easy for them.
台風が今となってはむしろ幸いかもしれんな。もしも晴れていたならゲストハウスに放火するという手もあり得たかもしれん。
Ah,
そもそも台風でなかったなら午前中に船が来てたわ。それを不幸中の幸いと言えるかは微妙ね。
I will look at it as a silver lining.
エヴァさん、体の具合はいかがですか？無理をされないようにしてください。ありがとう。熱はまだ感じるけど、そんなことを言ってる場合じゃないの。このためにも今は寝込んでる場合じゃない。
After crying so much in front of Hideyoshi's body, Eva had now gained a strong self-awareness that she was a mother, and her expression conveyed a strong will. Actually, her fever still hadn't gone down, and she was aware of that. Whenever she wasn't I swear I know that name, that word I mean. Whenever she wasn't galvanizing herself, she felt the fever starting to make her mind hazy again. By this point, the first floor was a final line of defense made by Kraus, Natsuki, and Eva. The children and the guest, Nanjo, had been strongly warned not to carelessly come downstairs. If the culprit used a ladder or something, it probably wouldn't be impossible for them to attack from upstairs. But it wouldn't be easy for them to break those sturdy shutters from such an unstable position. Also, they would be seen and heard, wouldn't they? It was comparatively safer upstairs compared to downstairs. Battler and George had hoped to remain downstairs as well, to fight in the worst case scenario, but Eva had rejected that. In her mind, George was now her only family. It seemed that she didn't even want to expose him to the danger of coming downstairs to the first floor. Kraus and Natsuki could also understand that feeling. Right, they have just... Why do I feel like, even though I know it's Beatrice Eva, even though I know it's her, why do I still feel like there's like a guy out there killing them, like a human? Why? A great deal of time had now passed since they once again barricaded themselves in. In the cousins' room upstairs, Battler, George, and Jessica were sitting dazed, their ears not even registering the TV that had been left on. For a while, Nanjo had been with them and had tried to send them words to cheer them up, but when he realized that he might actually be having the opposite effect, he disappeared into his own upstairs room. George kept looking dazedly at the photographs inserted in his notebook. They were from that time he had taken a vacation to Okinawa with Shannon. Shannon's happy smile was contained in those photographs. The aquarium? Yes. George could remember the temperature and the humidity, the warmth, the strength of the wind, and even what he had been talking about with her at the time those photos had been taken, as clearly as though it had been yesterday. So to George, they weren't simply photos, but a door to bring back warm memories. In this room, even though the sound of the typhoon and the TV should have entered George's hearing, it was the scenery of Okinawa he had seen with her and her laughing voice that reached his eyes and his ears. After meeting Shannon, George had made the decision to be reborn. He had sworn to separate himself from the timid person he had once been, easily caught up in the atmosphere, unable to refuse a request, and easily used by those around him. He had resolved himself to become a strong man who would make her life even more joyous. So, if he hadn't met Shannon, the man called Ushiromiya George would probably have lived a very different life. And the George of that different life surely wouldn't have been as excellent as a man as he now was. Look at them! Look at them! The way he was now, he was for the sake of Shannon. But if that same Shannon was now gone, he found himself wondering why he exists. Isn't it completely meaningless? A deep, deep sadness, as though he himself had become empty. That feeling had tormented him the whole time. However, until Battler had told him, he hadn't been aware of that feeling himself. He finally remembered that he should have cried much, much more. So he cried. Just like Battler, he had cried himself dry. By now, his eyes were bright red and swollen, and he could not cry anymore. So George did his best to change his way of thinking. He decided to think that he was not meaningless, that he should be grateful to Shannon for giving him such a character. Dead lives are not revived. He would have to get over being separated from his beloved. If he were to come after Shannon by killing himself, he would surely be deeply dejected. It would be the same the other way around too. If he had died and Shannon chased after him, throwing away her own life, he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. Wow. So he chose to surpass his emotions of sadness and anger, and decided to thank her. Meaning Shannon had made his days rich and full, and had taught him the meaning of working hard for other people's sakes. As a result, she had shaped him into the person he wanted to be. He thought he should thank her for that. By doing that, he tried to quell his sadness, but each time he did, he remembered Shannon's smile. He knew it logically. He understood that grieving any more than this would only make her grieve in heaven. Yet, he couldn't stop his sadness. Oh, look at them! The beautiful palm trees, right? Palm trees? I want to visit the fucking ocean one day, the beach. Oh, look at that beautiful, oh my god, that looks so gorgeous. I love it. They're talking, they're having fun. Almost like an old school photograph. Oh, I love George and Shannon.
なんで人が死ぬってのはよ、こんなに悲しいんだろうな。
Battler muttered. It was as though he was speaking on behalf of all humans. He probably hadn't been asking anyone, but Jessica answered.
別れはどんな形でもいつも悲しいさ。でもそれが例えば老いであるとか何かの時間であるとかあらかじめ約束されていていつか訪れる別れであると分かっているものはその悲しみを長い時間をかけてあらかじめ薄めておくことができる。それを許されないから突然の不幸は悲しいんだろうよ。
なるほどな。そりゃ病気にでもかかって 何年も昏睡状態になってるや。少しずつ心の整理もついてくだろうけど、ある日突然じゃ、その暇もねえもんな。
本来なら数年をかけて薄めるべき悲しみが一度に押し寄せる。そりゃ辛いわけさ。時には人の生涯に傷を残すほど深い悲しみを与えることもあるかもしれない。
生涯に傷を残すほどか。
じいさまのオカルト趣味もさ、そう囁かれてたんだよな。例のベアトリーチェって愛人を大昔に亡くして、それが悲しくて悲しくて立ち直れなくて、それで死者を蘇らせるためのオカルトの研究に残りの人生を全て捧げるようになったのではないかって、そう囁かれてた。
だとしたら、じいさまは最後の土壇場でその奇跡を成し遂げたな。犯人は蘇ったベアトリーチェで、じいさまは殺される瞬間に再会できたってことになるぜ。自分で蘇らせて、それに殺されるとは皮肉な話さ。
それでもおじいさまは会えたんだろうね。人生の半分を賭して、もう一度会いたいと願った女性に、わずかなひとときとはいえ再会できたんだろうね。
丸焼きにされちまったけどな。人生の半分をかけた研究にしては、ちょいと割の合わない成果だろうぜ。
そんなことはないよ。たとえほんのひとときであったとしても、愛した女性に再会できたおじいさまは幸せだったはずさ。仮に生命の摂理に逆らった罪を神に咎められて、その身を焼かれ地獄に落とされたとしても、その見返りの再会がほんのわずかな時間だったとしてもね。
上司兄さん、
神の怒りに触れてこの身を焼かれようとも構わない。わずかな時間でもいいからシャノンを再び蘇らせてくれるなら、僕は残りの人生すべてをおじいさまと同じ研究に捧げるよ。5分でいいからシャノンともう一度言葉を交わしたい。1分でもいいから、それと引き換えにすべての人生を捧げても僕は構わない。
兄貴。
When Battler and Jessica realized that their pointless discussion was hurting George, they had no choice but to shut their mouths. George directed his thoughts at Ginzo's life. I saw him sacrifice half of his life to research that no one could understand, and on the last day of his life, he revived the person he loved most, and probably succeeded in his reunion with his final moments. I don't know how much time they were able to spend together. I don't know whether they were given an hour or just 5 minutes. However, in that moment, all of that time he had sacrificed for his research must have been rewarded. Even though he spent decades to gain it, that small amount of time must have been enough to reward him. Until today, I never believed in the occult or magic or anything. Somewhere in my heart, I even made fun of grandfather's research as nothing more than an indulgence. However, I won't make fun of it anymore. No, on the contrary, I strongly believe that it does exist. If that power of belief can become miracles, I'll probably throw away all of my studies up until today and spend the rest of my life from today onwards studying magic. Give me the power of magic and a miracle which lets me meet Shannon again.
ごめんよみんな。僕もどうかしてる。魔法で死者が蘇るくらいだったら世界中の人々が魔法を学ぶだろうね。でも現実にはそんなことはない。誰も学ばない。死者が魔法では蘇らないって知っているから。 ごめんよ。妙なことを言い出して。僕のせいでおかしな空気になっちゃったね。みんなだって辛いだろうに。気を使わせてごめん。
Even though I did it to divert myself from my sadness, maybe I did say something strange. If I keep talking about something so weird, I'm sure it won't heal their sadness. But even so, that doesn't mean that I can withstand this silence.
僕は下に行って、もう一杯コーヒーをもらってくる。うちの母さん、コーヒーの入れ方にはこだわりがあるんだよ。みんなもおかわりはいるかい？
Battle-kun and Jessica-chan lightly shook their heads. Without being any more persistent than that, I took my mug and left the room. I did visit Dr. Nanjo's room to ask whether he wanted any more coffee as well, but he too said that he didn't want any more. It seemed as though my mother's orthodox method of making coffee wasn't universally appreciated. One time, I had Shannon drink some that I brewed by that method, but she told me that while it was delicious, it was a little strong, if I remember her words.
Shannon.
It's no good. Even though I left the room to change my mood, that image of Shannon's face that's filling my head hasn't faded in the slightest. The fun days I shared with her were becoming more and more vivid, and I felt saddened that I was not even allowed to see her dead face. According to our parents, it seems as though she was killed with something like a gun or a spear. I'm sure they were just trying to console me, but they had said that her face in death had been very beautiful and peaceful. I wonder if she's wearing the engagement ring I gave her last night? If she accepted my engagement, she should have it on the ring finger of her left hand. Last night, our heads were both full of each other, and we weren't composed at all. Shannon had accepted the engagement semi-boldly, but she might have regretted that as a rash action when she cooled her head. She might have taken the ring off. I wonder if she has the ring on now. I at least want to be sure of that much. I want to know her final feeling. However, even if I do check that, it's not as if she'll be revived. I wonder what will happen to her body. After the autopsy, it will probably be immediately cremated. Then I'll never be able to see her face, even her dead face, for all eternity.
僕はシャノンを失ったショックで少しおかしくなってるのかな。
I don't want Shannon's body to be burned. If she's burned, she'll turn to ash, and never again will it be possible for her to revive. They say that cremation is disliked in Western tradition, because on the day of resurrection, there would be no body to revive. Because of that, it seems that great criminals in Western history were often cremated after execution as a punishment, and their ashes were sometimes scattered in rivers and such. In other words, to Western people, death is nothing more than a sleep until the resurrection. It is essential that the corpse is left after death.
つまりそれは西洋人は死者が蘇る奇跡の存在を知っていたからなんだ。でも日本にはその奇跡がなかったから焼いてしまうんだ。
Now I understand. I understand why grandfather idolized the Western occults. From the beginning, it had all been only for that reason. Just to revive the person dear to him. Grandfather spent the rest of his remaining life researching the Western occults. The situation surrounding us right now was abnormal. Grandfather had revived his beloved Beatrice, and that Beatrice had carried out a terrible serial murder, with chains of locked rooms that were impossible without the use of magic. The Golden Witch Beatrice, the incarnation of the miracle of the Western occult, and also the culprit who killed Shannon. I should hate that being, and yet, for some reason, I want to cling to the hope she represents. I wonder if she could use that miraculous magic that grandfather spent his life espousing to revive Shannon. According to the Ushiromiya family legend, grandfather met with her long ago and was given a vast quantity of gold. Then, if I also met her, instead of gold, would she give me Shannon's life? In return, she could impose any kind of devil's contract. For that, I would sacrifice all my remaining life. George probably couldn't have believed or noticed that right behind him. The witch herself stood, listening to his voiceless wish. Beatrice had been listening to everything George and the others had to say since their discussion just now in the cousin's room. Battler had told her that she didn't know the weight of a human's life, and wanting to understand that in her own way, she had stealthily visited and listened to their discussion.
それが願いだというのか。それを叶えれば、わらわは魔女だと認められるのか。
Beato looked at the palms of both her hands. She had handed over most of her previously surging magic powers when the new witch had succeeded the name of the Endless Witch. Of course, even now, her magic power still made her worthy of being called a witch, but it did not even compare to her previous strength.
無限の魔法などなくとも、わらわは千年に名を轟かす大魔女であるぞ。死者を蘇らすなど、造作もないことよ。
Inside her head, she thought about several magical methods for reviving the dead. Even magic that she could do easily in the past would be difficult with her current magic power. She thought of something, then clicked her tongue, and repeated this several times. In the end, she finally thought of a single spell. But that was a spell that she couldn't use by herself. It was a spell that witches with weak power used, and relied on the aid of others. In the past, Beato had looked down upon that type of magic. Therefore, she frantically tried to think if there wasn't any other possible spell. But in the end, she couldn't think of one and slumped over in self-derision. And then, careful not to surprise him, she softly called out, softly to George's heart.
後宮ジョージ、わらわの声が聞こえるか。
聞こえるとも。あなたは誰だい？本当に魔女のベアトリーチェ？それとも僕の悲しみが生んだ幻想なのか？
My boy George is talking to her.
もしも前者だったなら僕の願いを聞いてほしい。そして後者なら僕をそっとしておいてほしい。
Conversations in the world of the mind are a lot like those in a dream. When you dream, haven't you ever had the experience of casually accepting something that would have been absurd in the real world? The conversation in this world was like that. So even though a witch appeared and started talking to George, he was not surprised.
わらわの黄金の魔女、ベアトリーチェである。本来わらわとそなた、こうして会話を交わすことなどできぬ。しかし、そなたがわらわのことを強く意識し、会話を望むから、こうして互いのチャンネルを合わせることができる。
シャノンを殺したのがあなたなのか？あなたを名乗る何者かの仕業なのか？ただあなたが本当の魔女として存在しているならば、どんな対価にも応じる。僕の命を望むなら今すぐに捧げてもいい。どうかシャノンを生き返らせてほしい。それが無理ならせめてわずかの間話をさせてくれるだけでもいい。お願いだ。
対価はいらない。その願い、
本当にシャノンを？
だから反言の魔法を扱うのは今のわらわには魔力が足りない。だからそなたの手を借りねばならない。
僕にできることならどんなことでも。それが僕の心臓を今すぐこの場で取り出すことであったとしても、僕は躊躇しない。
そんなものいらぬというのに、 わらわは魔法を唱える。さすれば冥府の扉に。だが、今のわらわには、その隙間よりシャノンの魂を連れ出せるほどの力はない。しかし、シャノンのことを強く思うそなたなら、その思いを魔力に変えて、彼女の魂を必ずや連れ戻せるだろう。どうだ、わらわを手伝うか。
手伝うとも。
Obviously.
シャノンの命が蘇るなら、僕は何を失うことも恐れない。
George's fists shook in silence. Then he slowly regained consciousness. He had been absent-mindedly standing near the window in the hall the whole time, his mug still in his hand. And the wish from his dream was still there.
そんな、夢じゃ。
Don't scream!
静かにせよ。今のわらわはとても脆い。この上さらに他の人間まで現れたら、姿を保ちきれぬ。そなたの願いは叶えるから、今は沈黙せよ。よいか。
George covered his mouth with both hands, forcefully nodding several times. As he did, he almost dropped the mug he was holding. George frantically juggled it around and caught it. He was afraid that if it fell to the floor and made a loud sound, the witch's form might disappear like a bubble popping. He softly set the mug on the floor and stared. Why do I always feel like it said started? And stared once again at the witch in front of him. Her form didn't disappear. It wasn't a dream.
シャノンが眠る客室へ行くぞ。そなたの思いの力に彼女の魂を連れ戻すの。
行くってどうやって？下には母さんたちがいる。表へ出るのを許してくれるわけがない。それにあなたはさっき他の人間が現れたら姿を保てないと言わなかったかい？
そういえばそうだった。下にはクラウスたちがおった。それでは確かに下へ降りられないな。ならば1階へ降りずに屋敷へ行けばいいではないか。簡単な話。
Beato laughed, as though she had thought of a pleasant prank. And with a golden pipe, she lightly tapped the window with its shutter closed. When she did, 3 gold butterflies appeared from the pipe and opened the lock on the window, as though melting it. When then the window opened without a sound. The shutter beyond it was exactly the same. The clasp unset itself, also without making a sound, and it quietly opened. My boy George is gonna jump from the 2nd story? The window opened, exposing the wind and rain outside the mansion. Perhaps because of this, of the direction or something related to the construction of the building, the wind did not blow inside. Because of that, for a while, George felt as though this entrance opening to the outside was a dream or illusion, and he couldn't accept it as real.
さあ行くぞ。ついてまいる。
Beato gently floated upwards. It was a natural action, like that of a diver enjoying an underwater stroll. It made it easy to believe that if you acted like she did, you too might be able to float in the sky, just as though you were swimming in the water. No, George did believe that. So without thinking, just as she had done, he also gently, as though swimming in the water, he moved his feet. Is he floating?
やるではないか。わらわが説明するよりも早く空を舞うことを覚えたか。
George was shocked to find himself floating in mid-air like he was swimming. Of course, Beato was also shocked that George, who should have been unacquainted with magic, had learned how to do that just by instinct. I'm fucking surprised too. Look at him!
空が飛べるなんて、泳げるなんて。
理屈を考えてはならぬ。それが自然なことであると受け入れる。ニュートンとかアインシュタインとか人間たちの競技を思い出してはならぬぞ。特に高き空を飛んでいる時に墜落する未熟な魔女の時
あるがままを受け入れる。
Oh my god, George!
あるがままを受け
George repeated those words over and over. He must not deny magic, no matter what. To deny that would be the same as to throw away what might be. His first and last chance to revive Shannon. However, compared to Beato, who was elegantly drifting like smoke, George's movements were clearly similar to someone underwater. Therefore, if he didn't make a movement like kicking his feet in water every once in a while, he would be slowly dragged down by the force of gravity.
わらわが初めて空を舞った時よりは上出来であると褒めておる。行くぞ。ついてまいろ。
Beato beckoned to George and gently flew into the stormy sky. It was just like a scene from a fairy tale. The scene unfolding before George's eyes felt entirely like an extension of his dream. Oh, I love this.
空を飛べるのはすごいけど、すごい風と雨だ。
なんだ。雨と風に苛まれるのか。それを防ぐ魔法を教えてもよいが、今のそなたには早いし、今はそれを習う時間を割くのも惜しかろう。
ええ、僕が必要としている魔法はそれじゃない。
Without losing to the wind and rain, George wore a strong-willed gaze.
見えてきたぞ、屋敷だ。もう少し頑張れよ。今落ちればバラの茂みだぞ。
The undulating rose garden was spread beneath the witch and George's gaze. This fantasy-like scene no longer surprised George. On the gradually approaching mansion, only the gradually approaching mansion was reflected in his eyes.
シャノン、待ってて。必ず君を蘇らせてみせる。
I was thinking about this bitch. Meanwhile, the cruel new witch could be seen staring at the guest house from a different location.
あと残すは第7第8の番だけね。あと2人で先代のババアの義理はおしまいだわ。クラウスと夏日を殺す。夫婦仲良くね。にひ、標的はどうかに。ゲストハウス1階ロビーにて標的2名と後ろ宮笑顔捕捉。反魔法力測定。410へデータリンク。410データ受領。反魔法力は極めて小。
What?
エマさえ席を外せばまな板の上のマグロにアワビです。にひひひひ。いかがしますか、大ベアトリーチェ卿。ご命令をいただければすぐにも狙撃いたします。どうかご命令を。ほんとにあんたたちは便利な家具ね。死体をほじるしか能のない中古家具どもとは大違いだわ。
Wow. Bully. Bully.
シエスタ姉妹、またあなたたちの手際を見せてちょうだい。攻撃準備よ。死体はまた運び出してね。たっぷり遊んであげるんだから。文句はなしよ、ロノベ。
はい、かしこまりました。
At that time, the witch noticed something, as though some presence had disappeared. Was it her imagination?
今何か気配を感じなかった？誰か感じた人いる？申し訳ありません。私は何も気づきませんでした。お許しを。私たちゲストハウスを観測中でしたから周辺監視はオフにしてます。にひ。ルシファーちゃんは何か気配感じた？
If she says yes. For just an instant, Lucifer sent a glance at Renault, questioning whether she should answer honestly or not. Renov gave him a small nod in response.
いいえ、申し訳ございません。ベアトリーチェ様、私たちは何も。中華家具ゆえ、愚鈍なことをお許しください。
No, Renov! Even if you are like the 70, whatever the fuck, devil shit motherfucker. Wait a minute. No. I shouldn't. Wait, should I? I mean, he's not a dick, but he is a demon. I don't know. Should I feel sympathy for him? What's going on here? What? A lot of fucking dots.
そう。大悪魔のあなたがそう言うなら、きっと私の気のせいなんでしょうね。
Wait a minute. Wait a motherfucking second. Did he say that shit on purpose? He's hiding her. The witch stared persistently in the direction the presence had disappeared to. Is Beatrice trying to hide herself? That was the direction of the rose garden. I mean, beato. And beyond that, she could see that the mansion's dark silhouette created by lightning. It took her quite some time before she pushed her unsatisfied feelings aside, and once again turned to face the guest house. What, bitch? Oh, we're so close. How zoomed in we are. We can't zoom in almost any more than this. Okay, this is gonna be... I think this is the last one. The guest house lobby had been engulfed by silence. The strings of tension which bound Kraus, Natsuki, and Eva had already loosened. They were completely tired, and their consciousness was beginning to waver, bitch. Oh shit, waver. Every once in a while, they would stand up and walk around pointlessly, fighting their drowsiness, just doing random shit.
大丈夫ですか？
Oh, there she is. Oh my... Oh, I love her so
いや、無
much.
理せず休んでいてください。大丈夫だって言ってるわ。
She should marry me. Fuck Kraus. I'll take care of her better.
もう大人は私たち3人しかいないのよ。休んでる暇なんかないわ。
Listen, I'm way younger than she is, but I'm an adult. Come on, Natsuki, think about it.
石にかじりついてでも、ここを死守するわよ。
She spoke a brave line, but she couldn't hide her rough breathing. It seemed that the fever, which had been calmed with medicine for a time, had returned. It was very obvious that Eva's condition was not good.
無理はするな。せめて目を閉じていたまえ。もし起こさねばならぬ時は必ず起こしてやるから。
だから平気だって言ってるわ。放っておいて。
It seemed that she had now become stubborn. Kraus and Natsuki realized that no matter what else they said to her, in her current state, it wouldn't reach her ears. So they decided to say nothing more and to let her be. To Ava right now, even an argument like that was putting a burden on her. It would probably be better for her if she just sat there with her mouth closed. As a matter of fact, Ava was already on the point of succumbing to her drowsiness. She might have talked back with a temper because she was trying to encourage herself and throw off her sleepiness. The clock would very soon be pointing to 6 in the afternoon. Because she had been snacking over and over again to fool her drowsiness, she didn't feel hungry. But instead, her lack of sleep made it feel like it was 6 in the morning rather than the afternoon. Even supposing that the boat would come at precisely 9 in the morning tomorrow, there was still more than 12 full hours to go on. That was a dizzyingly long stretch of time. Long, painful, hot. Even the sound of the clock torments my body now. In times like this, he would put his hand on my forehead and the fever would always fade at once. But he isn't here anymore. As Ava's mind grew foggy, she was once again gripped by a deep sadness. She had already cried herself dry. Even so, the sadness from losing her beloved husband had not been exhausted.
私は間違っていたんだわ。どうして？
Originally, the new witch had been the same being as Ava. If Ava talked to her, she would always respond.
私は後ろ宮家の当主の座さえ得られれば、それで満足のはずだった。それが あの黄金の山を見た途端に欲が増えたの。あの黄金の山を独り占めしたい気持ちに駆られた。
それは恥じることでも何でもないわ。だって、後宮家の当主として当然の権利じゃない。他の誰にも黄金の一かけらだって譲るものかってのよ。
私がその誘惑に囚われたから、あなたが生まれてしまったんだわ。あなたは、私の少女時代の心であると同時に、自分勝手でしかない、私のよこしまな心でもあった。そのあなたが、あの黄金の山によって芽生えた私の愚かな欲望のせいで、私の胸という卵の殻を破り、この世に生まれ出てしまった。
Wow. Okay, so it's my foolish greed which sprouted thanks to the amount of gold that allowed you to break out of the shell of my heart and be born into this
あな
world.
たを
Okay.
産んだのは私の責任。
なら、私が殺したローザとマリアも、そして、ルドルフとキリエと秀吉も、あなたの責任ってことになるわ。
どうしてうちの人まで殺したのよ。どうして。
Because she's crazy with powers driving her mad.
秀吉を殺す気はなかったわ。
Then you wouldn't have done it,
だ
period.
って、うるさくてしつこかったんだもの。
Oh, so you did want to.
その意味では私たちの、いえ、あなたの責任ね。
Oh, what a
あんな
bitch.
のを旦那に選んだあなたの責任だわ。
Oh, it's her? Okay, wow. What fucking logic is that?
あの人の良さはわからないわよ。あな
た。なんでよ。私たちは魔法で夢を叶えたのよ。気分の謎を解いたわ。そして黄金を見つけ、当主の指輪を手にしたわ。すべての夢を叶えきったわ。それがなんで不満なの？
それだけが全ての夢なんかじゃないわ。あの人と素敵な人生を歩んで、ジョージに素晴らしい人生を託す。妻として、母として。私には、まだ叶えなければならない夢がたくさんあるのよ。それなのに。
それは、あなたが大人になってから勝手に増やした夢だわ。私たちの夢じゃない。
だからあなたは子供なのよ。自分さえ良ければいいの？そうよ。すべて私が悪いのよ。あの時、ローザの言うことにどうして私は反抗したの？どうして兄弟みんなに黄金を見つけたと発表できなかったの？すべて私が醜いから。黄金を独り占めしたくて芽生えさせたよこしまな心が、あなたを孵化させてしまった。
ひどい嫌われようだわ。私たちは二人で後宮エヴァなのに。
いいえ、もう違うわ。そしてそれはあなたが言ったのよ。私は後宮エヴァ、そしてあなたは黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェよ。だからもう消えて。魔女なんておとぎ話の中にしか存在できない妄想よ、幻想よ。あなたなんか消えてしまえ。二度と私の前に現れないで。
ああ、そう。わかったわ。あなたの前から消えてあげるわ。そして私は、もう後宮エヴァじゃない。これからは、黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェよ。もう好き勝手に遊んでやるんだから。あんたなんて知らないわ。へそでもかんで勝手に死んじゃえば。
Straight to insults when she was rejected by Ava, huh? I see how she is. Straight to talking shit. After having a fittingly childlike tantrum, the witch who had once been another Ava vanished. Only Ava was left behind in the darkness, and she questioned herself.
私が彼らを殺した。あの人を殺してしまったの。私が殺してしまったの。
Now, that question was one she herself would never answer. Whew. So now that Beatrice is just all on her own. Nobody to rein her in, nobody to work for, I guess. Not Ava. She's just existing to fulfill her desires now. It seemed that, half asleep, she had gotten some saliva caught up in her windpipe just as she was dozing off. Ava suddenly started coughing.
大丈夫かエヴァ。夏希、水を頼む。
はい。大丈夫だってば。むせちゃっただけなんだから。
Ava pushed away Natsuki's hand as she tried to rub her back and unsteadily rose to her feet.
顔を洗ってくるわ。ごめんなさいね、寝ちゃってたわ。戻ってきたらまたコーヒーを入れるわね。特に濃い。明日の朝まで眠気が来なくなるようなやつを。
Don't make it too strong, girl. You don't want to overdose everyone here.
頼む。ゴーダの入れるコーヒーよりお前が入れるコーヒーの方が私の好みに合うからな。
お世辞でも嬉しいわ。すぐ戻るわ。
Ava exited the lobby, heading for the lavatory. Kraus and Natsuki watched over her frail back.
あなたもあれだけ犬猿の中だったエヴァさんに気を使うこともあるのですね。
本来兄とはこういうものではないのか
ね。Oh, it's just because what you should do as an older brother, not as a person? Or to make
それで正しいと思います。
エヴァに限らん。ルドルフにもローザにも。私がした兄らしいことといえば、それを王兵に語り、彼らをいじめただけだ。
You're finally realizing that it just took everyone to die.
父のようになりたくて、私なりに必死だった。
Right, yes.
だが、いつもそれは及ばず、そのはけ口を彼らに向けてしまった。
Yes, that's not good. That's something a lot of people do. They feel like they have something happen to them, right? Or like this, they're angry about something. Somebody did something to them, and so they take out their feelings on other people. Those other people had nothing to do with that. That's not fair.
しかし、それは言い訳にならん。エヴァにもまだ傷が癒えぬほどに深い心の傷を負わせてしまっただろう。悔いているが、今さらそれを詫びたところで、その傷が癒えるわけもない。
Yeah, it wouldn't. It would. I mean, what do you do?
あなたがその気持ちを
It could be a
今
start.
だけでなく持ち続けることで、その気持ちはきっと他の兄弟たちにも伝わりますよ。
今となっては他の兄弟もエヴァを残すのみだがね。
もしあなたとあなたのご兄弟が生まれた家が後ろもっともっと普通な楽しい兄弟の関係であったでしょうに。
それを言ってはならん。エヴァは生涯私を憎み続けるだろう。そしてその資格がある。私はそれを甘んじて受け止めるつもりだ。
あなた、
エヴァ、すまん。もちろん許さなくていい。
もちろん許さないわ。何を今さら。
Oh fuck! I just realized they're both alone.
悪いと思ったなら今すぐへそでも噛んで死んじゃえば。やっちゃえシエスタ島。45射撃とか治療。 射撃曲線再確認。飛行誤差修正。410データリンク。410データ受領。射撃許可確認。にひひひひ。射撃。
Oh wow. This music, it always has to seem so beautiful. Together, the sisters released the readied magic bowstring, a beautiful tailed the golden arrow, and it drew a beautiful curve as it flew. It was just like a golden snake. It skillfully avoided a grove of trees and flew towards the front door of the guest house. Then it flew into the keyhole of the door and snuck into the guest house without any problem at all. The gold snake raced down the hall smoothly, yet as fast as an arrow. Right in front of it was the door to the lobby. It would only need to fly into that keyhole, and Kraus and Natsuki would be right there. For an instant, Kraus thought he saw the door's keyhole sparkle gold. However, at the same time, he strained his eyes to see what it was. That sparkle bent like a whip and attacked, wrapping itself around Kraus's neck. Just looking at it, the gold snake looked very supple. However, it was as though a wire had tightened around Kraus's neck. And while that snake choked Kraus, it extended even more, and also tightened around Natsuki's neck. Without even the chance to scream, their eyes bulged as they went into convulsions and they collapsed.
45命中および死亡確認。牽引曲線形成。補正点修正。410へデータリンク。410データ受領。死体牽引開始。2匹も釣れた2匹。
The gold snake began to drag Kraus and Natsuki's corpses back. It slipped through the door in the corridor, dragging the corpses, gradually increasing in speed. And in the blink of an eye, it had pulled them outside the guest house. So the lobby was still, as though nothing had happened at all. As though Kraus and Natsuki had never been there to begin with. Only the sound of the wind and the rain remained, as though feigning ignorance and pretending that they had been the only ones there.
ごめんなさい。もう大丈夫よ。
Oh, it's too late,
今コー
Ava.
ヒーを入れるわね。
Ava returned from the lavatory, but no one was in the lobby. Even though they had been in that sofa until the very moment she had choked and gone to the lavatory, they had now gone, as if they had been an illusion from the beginning.
不用心ね。二人揃ってどこに行っちゃったの？
Like she was pretending to be a detective in a novel. In a detective novel, Ava put her hand on the sofa. She felt a warmth indicating that they had been sitting there until a short while ago. Maybe they had gone to do the rounds or something. For the time being, Ava sat down and waited for their return. Beato and George could be seen in the parlor of the mansion. George was kneeling near Shannon's body as though praying. His face was sincerity itself, and there was even sweat on his forehead. However, Beato was the same. Now that she had handed her name over, most of her previous power has been lost. Of course, she still had more than enough power to be called a witch, but compared to the past, it was a very faint thing.
いいぞ。声をかけるな。手で触れるな。心の声で呼べ。心の手で求め。そなたの強き思いだけ。シャノンの失われた魂。
George maintained a single-minded focus. He kept frantically yelling inside his heart, trying to call back the soul of the person he loved. he strongly envisioned his soul leaving his body and searching for her as she wandered through hell. Beato turned that strong force into magical power, supplementing her own magic. It was magic that, in the past, she could have performed easily without anyone's help. But now, if she didn't rely on someone's help, she wouldn't be able to finish the chant, much less succeed.
数百年近くに忘れておったわ。魔法と反言とこんなに辛い魔法であったか。
An even more strained expression than George's had risen on Beato's face. She was still forgetting this, but the magic to revive a life is fundamentally the ultimate hidden art. It was her previous magical power, giving her the ability to use that magic over and over with a snap of her fingers that was abnormal. Therefore, the heavy burden to her body and mind was, by rights, absolutely to be expected.
こやつの確か魔法を知らぬというかなりの
Is George like a prodigy?
さすがは金蔵の孫といったところ。
The strong power pouring from George was even large enough to pass as magical power. At first, Beato thought it was due to the blood of the mage Kinzo. However, that was probably wrong. She had a feeling that Battler had taught her that. George's power to feel sorrow for the death of his loved one arose from the way he had tried his hardest throughout his life, from the warm time spent together with Shannon, and from the size of their shared dreams, promising each other their futures. Do humans really live this seriously during their one single life? Of course they do. To her, a life didn't mean anything more than a difference between the top and bottom of an Othello piece. If the black represented death, then she thought all you had to do was flip it over again and make it white. However, it was just like that broken vase. To humans in a world without magic, where they can never return to its original form, it is very, very natural for them to bet all their body and soul on that single life.
生死すら自在にする無限の魔女、死の山さえ越えられぬ有限の人間に劣ることもあるというか。
Now, the witch acknowledged it. He was able to hold a magical power that could not reside in witches who didn't understand the value of a life. What is this thing called an endless magic for again? Called the endless magic for again. Even though I call myself the endless witch, have I been forgetting what the endless magic means for a whole 1,000 years? She looked at George's expression again. His surging earnestness was like a lightning bolt. Right now, even if George's body was burned or smashed by a waterfall, he would probably continue to pray for his beloved without minding it, without noticing it. For the first time, he showed respect for that power. So in that instant, all magical resistance was lost, and the enormous power of George's feelings turned into magical power in its perfect form. Oh shit! The vase was very, very beautiful, rich with history and value. Even as young as I was, it still forced me to take a deep breath when I witnessed its beauty. This song is so sad. What's gonna happen? But that just made me want to touch it. But the vase easily fell and smashed into smithereens, like a popped bubble. It felt as though the time when it had possessed a form was just an illusion. It was that fragile, that easily lost that life. I realized that, because of my own foolish curiosity, I had done something that couldn't be taken back. No matter how much I regretted it, no matter how much I apologized, the broken vase would not return to its original form. A lost life will not return to normal no matter what happens. I was frightened by the fact that my own frivolous action, even though I had been frivolous, had stolen a life that could never be revived again. And, out of pity for that lost life, I cried. Out of fear of myself, who had made it become lost, I cried even more. It was sure that grandfather would also cry at the loss of his precious vase. I was sure that all of the people who thought fondly of grandfather would cry too when they saw him like that. By just the loss of a single life, the whole world would be filled with so much sadness. I cried even more at how terrible that would be. Beatrice appeared and spoke.
ならばお嬢様、この壺を魔法で蘇らせましょう。それで皆が幸せになれるなら、壺も魔法も精霊たちも喜んでそのために力を貸し、元の姿を取り戻すでしょう。さあさあ、お嬢様、目を閉じて私と一緒にお歌を歌いましょう。さあさあ、目を閉じてごらんなさい。そして思い出してごらんなさい。あなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。それはきっととてもとても美しい姿。どうか私にあの姿をもう一度見せておくれ。
Those words of power powerfully knocked on the doors of on the door to Hades. Her previous magic had powerfully knocked on the door to Hades in the same way. However, back then, it was horribly violent and earned the displeasure of the peacefully sleeping dead. However, this time was different. It was very powerful, but it was very kind and loving. The dead near the door opened their eyes and called out to the other dead that there was a voice calling for someone to come back. The sadness of that voice calling from the outside touched the hearts of the dead, and trying to respond as quickly as possible, they searched for Shannon's lost soul. And then they found it. They found the casket in which Shannon was peacefully sleeping. It truly was Shannon's soul, sleeping in the land of the dead. Inside a casket that was covered with rose petals, frozen with frost, she was sleeping in peace. The dead silently lifted that casket up. While it looked like a funeral march at a glance, it had the complete opposite meaning. It was solemn, but filled with joy. It reminded the long forgotten dead, that they continued to be loved even after their deaths, and gave them all a warm sense of peace. Then, as though guided by a warm light from the heavens, Shannon's body floated up out of the casket. The dead watched her go. They squinted at that warm light, giving their respect to this unknown member of the living who had continued to hold on to his love for a person even after her death. I'm trying not to get a little emotional, but it's hard. This fucking music. Shannon's body was sucked into the light in the heavens and began to disappear. In the jet black darkness of the land of the dead, the faint flickering of gold butterflies could be seen. It reminded them of the gentle stars in the night sky, which they had long forgotten. George remembered being told that he must not say anything, and he hurriedly covered his mouth. However, it felt like his heart was trying to jump out of his throat, because he had seen Shannon's eyelids shake slightly. And then, those eyelids slowly opened. Shannon's eyes were there, but they were still covered in the frost of the land of the dead. However, the warmth of the human world, no. The warmth of her loved one, who had called her soul back, slowly dissolved that frost, and her eyes gradually regained their sparkle. Then her eyes moved and recognized George. She's alive! I kind of expected it not to work, but it did. As her lips shook weakly, Shannon definitely said that. The words were very faint, so much so that they normally wouldn't even have reached his ears. However, George clearly heard them. He heard his loved one, his fiancée, the one he loved most, who should have been dead, call his name once again.
シャノ、僕がわかるかい？
ジョージさん、これは夢なの？
いや、これは夢じゃないの。だから
Wow!
つもっても冷めないよ。
As George said that, he softly pinched Shannon's cheek. That was how George had always responded in the past, when Shannon had been surprised by something and had asked if she was dreaming. When Shannon felt the warm touch of George's finger on her cheek, and when George realized that the warmth of a living person had already returned to the cheek of his beloved, they both cried. With what words should a pair of lovers separated by death celebrate their reunion? The words of the human world are not enough to celebrate that. In short, they had no need for the words of this world. Shannon sat up, and the two of them simply wordlessly hugged each other. Shannon still didn't have much strength in her, and putting her arms around George's back took all she had. So George hugged her tightly to make up for that, to stop her from ever again going to a place beyond his reach. He hugged her so tightly and yet so gently. Shannon's fingers curled around George's back, and on her ring finger indeed shone the engagement ring George had given her. That strong sparkle was absolutely not the sparkle of diamond alone. There was, without a doubt, a magical power that only the two lovers could possibly feel. It was because that strong light existed that they had been able to find her casket in the land of the dead. Beato understood. That ring, no. The couple's feelings in the form of that ring had created this miracle. In that moment, George had definitely used magic. Beato had done nothing more than help him along. That magic had a magical power that could only reside in those who knew of the importance of life and trying their hardest. It was the power of a miracle that an endless wish could not know, that only the power of the finite could give rise to. By now, she had no choice but to accept it. She had to accept that true magic, the true magical power, existed in the place farthest away from she who called herself a great witch.
彼女が君を生き返らせてくれたんだ。ありがとう、ベアトリーチェ。
わらわは何もできなかった。シャノンをよみがえらせたのは、そなたの魔力、そなたの魔法、奇跡を成し遂げる後ろ宮の地。確かに見届けさせてもらったぞ。
ジョージさんが私を。
Looks like you're both magical.
足元にも及ばぬほどの凄まじき魔力であったぞ。わらわなどまだまだ見習いの域を出ぬか。今こそ身の程を知ろうぞ。
Beato staggered backwards. Her physical strength was clearly exhausted. She had humbly said that George's power alone had revived Shannon, but Beato had also used all her magical and physical strength, and she reflected upon how difficult it was to revive a single one of these lives, which she had toyed with however she wanted in the past. The couple kept each other in their tight embrace and showed no signs of letting go. Feelings that couldn't be communicated with a billion words were thus communicated between them.
ありがとう、ベアトリーチェ。君は僕たちの恩人だ。
ありがとうございます、ベアトリーチェ様。再びジョージ様に会わせてくださったこのご恩を決して忘れません。
よせよせ。愛し合う二人に感謝されては外道の極みと恐れられたわらわにはくすぐったすぎるというものよ。わらわのことは気にするな。
存分に再会。
Beato, who was leaning her back against the wall, slid down the wall and sat. How many centuries had it been since she had last grown this tired from using magic? Probably not since the time I first succeeded in magic. Didn't Master praise me for that back then? Oh, but I myself killed that master who praises me, didn't I? Don't be naive, Beatrice. In the end, that's what it means to kill something, right?
ようやく魔法の使い方を思い出したようですね。
頭ん中酸欠でカラッカラで思い出すもヘチマもねえぜ。それよりあんた殺したじゃねえかよ。現れるんじゃねえよ。
あなたが未だに私を生かしていますよ。だからこうして現れられます。もっともあなたの頭を撫でに来たわけでもありませんが。
無様なわらわをわざわざ嘲笑いに来たかよ。それに隠居までした魔女が今さら頭なんか撫でられちゃ他の魔女の笑いもんだぜ。
そうですね。一人前どころか現役を退いたと豪語するあなたなのに、今頃になって魔法の使い方を覚えたなど恥ずかしくて誰にも言えませんね。
内緒にしてくれよ、お師匠様。
With a sense of pleasant despondency, Beato gazed at the couple hugging each other.
愛か。勝てね
45データ受領。射撃準備完了。
What's going on?
装填。410射撃。2ヒ。
The gold and serpentine arrow fired by the Chester sisters weaved its way through the bushes in the rose garden, weaved its way through the hedges, and climbed the stone steps toward the mansion's entrance, aiming for the keyhole. It weaved through the corridors and flew into the keyhole, into the door to the parlor. Is it gonna kill her again? Or gonna go for Beatrice? It happened in an instant. It would have been difficult for Beato, who was completely worn out, to have noticed it beforehand. Right before Beato's eyes, the gold snake that flew in through the keyhole spun circles around the two lovers and pierced through their two hearts in a blink of an eye. Oh, fuck. And with meticulous precision, that gold snake ran through that hole in Shannon's chest once more. The two had been pierced through the heart by the gold snake. No, by the gold sewing thread used by the new brutal witch's furniture. And it had only taken an instant, so unfitting for an amount of effort it had taken to revive Shannon. In front of Beato's shocked eyes, the two collapsed onto the floor.
ジョージ、シャノン。
ありがとう、ベアトリーチェ。わずかの間でも合わせてくれてありがとう。
George spent his last breath thanking Beato and died side by side with the one he loved. The gold snake, which still sewed the two in place, spun like a large cyclone, revolving around the inside of the parlor. It was searching for further kills in that room. Was it trying to go for her? Then the tip of the snake met Beato's gaze. In that instant, Beato prepared herself for death. Just then, Virgilia stood in front of her, the fingers of both her hands drawing a mark. in that instant, gold-colored leaf buried the inside of the parlor. It was like a blizzard of gold.
ベアト、今のうちに逃げて。シエスタの黄金球からは誰も逃れられない。
410標的疾患200魔法機回し45了解索敵変更対人画像追尾方式標的再補足410へデータリンク410データ受領すっとろいに先代様来て来て来て着弾
The Chester sisters' golden bow would not let its kill escape. It would not let them block it. No magical barrier could even dream of blocking it without being multi-layered. The weak point during the instant of confusion caused by Virgilia's deception magic was Beato's only chance to escape. And the only opportunity to make the sisters confuse Virgilia for Beato. As Virgilia spread her arms wide, blocking the way to her beloved disciple, the gold snake pierced straight through the location of her heart. The snake, which had snuck in through the keyhole, shot through George and Shannon and then shot through Virgilia in an instant, completely failed to notice as Beato escaped. As soon as Virgilia saw that Beato had gotten away, she expired. She died again? The strength left her body, and like gold dust drifting with the wind, her form was erased. Beato completely erased all traces of her magical power, became gold butterflies and passed through the wall, escaping to the wind and rain outside. Beato felt sick from the bottom of her heart. Why? Because she had been attacked by the new witch? Probably not. Of course, she also felt sick over the loss of her master. But even more than that, Beato was enraged at the barbarism which had boorishly stolen the union between the two reunited lovers. Beato had poured out almost all her magical power to reunite them. That miracle had been achieved only as a result of that. Yet it had taken such a short time to steal it away. Beato trembled at the barbarous cruelty which had ended it so fast. And it was also the true form of the acts she herself had committed up until that point. So just as strongly as Beato hated the new witch, she looked at her previous self with disgust. So Beato has now become... But now she had to escape. If she was targeted next, she would probably lose her life. And it wouldn't even be funny if the chess player descended like a god, ended up being attacked and killed by the pieces.
45着弾確認標的資産間違いなく先代様を撃破しましたまた私たちの撃墜気象が増えちまうににひ愛し合う二人なんだっけ引き裂いて一度合わせて二度もう一度引き裂いて三度楽しめるだっけ
I remember that fucking quote.
そのついでにクソうるさいババアまでさよならできて最高にご機嫌よラノエ文句ないわよね
ございますベアトリーチェ様
あいつは魔女の碑文の儀式を妨害したのよ第一の番の生贄を勝手に蘇らせて私の儀式を妨害したわ文句言われる筋合いなんかなんにもないわよしかしずるいなあいつは死体を残さないのねあのババアも思いっきり何度も無限にいじめ殺して遊んでやろうと思ったのに
ジョージが来てないわよ。いつ降りたのよ。
いつって、あれは何時くらいだったっけ？
確か4時か5時くらいだったかな。最低でも1時間以上は前だよ。
Oh fuck.
俺たち眠くなってその後は多分居眠りしてたし、でも多分ジェシカの言う通りだと思うぜ。1時間か2時間くらい前だった。
私もそのくらいの頃だと記憶しています。コーヒーのおかわりはいるかと聞かれましたからね。
Right. Something hard to believe had happened. Apparently, when Auntie Ava had left for a second to visit the lavatory, Uncle Kraus and Aunt Nazi had disappeared. There's no way they went hiding somewhere. Of course, the doors and windows had all been rigorously checked, and all were locked from the inside. Not one of them was broken. And that wasn't just the first floor. The second floor was the same. Also, all of the doors and windows were designed in such a way that they couldn't be locked from the outside. In other words, there was no way that Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsuki had gone outside, and yet they couldn't be found. Furthermore, they weren't the only ones who had disappeared. Astonishingly, George Aniki had too. George Aniki had left saying that he was going to get more coffee, and had gone downstairs more than an hour earlier. I'd been under the impression that he was having a good conversation with Auntie Ava and the rest. But Auntie Ava, who had been in the lobby the whole time, said that no one had come down. Since all of the doors and windows were locked from the inside, it's hard to imagine that they went outside. Nevertheless, 3 humans had evaporated from this barricaded guest house, which had become a perfect locked room. It's hard to imagine any reason why they'd hide themselves away for a surprise prank in a situation like this. It's probably appropriate to think that they've become caught up in this crime. When Auntie Ava learned that her only son was missing, she went half insane, running from room to room and yelling his name loudly. And Jessica, who had suddenly lost both of her parents, followed suit. Cries of George, George, and Mom, Dad were even now continuing to echo through the guest house. I think George said something about wanting to see Shannon's face. It would be reasonable to imagine that he had snuck out to the guest house and gone to the mansion. However, I don't know about Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsuki. Maybe they guessed that that's what happened and went to the mansion to search for him, without even telling Auntie Ava? At this rate, it's only a matter of time before we start talking about leaving the guest house to search for them. At this point, I'd be in favor for that. We said that shutting ourselves up inside the guest house would be safe, and shut ourselves in this morning as a big happy family of 12 people. And yet, now there are only 4 people here. In other words, being here does not imply safety. However, there's something even more important that we mustn't forget. The fact that all the doors and windows were locked from the inside. This is a locked room. How had they vanished from this place? We searched around thoroughly. However, we were unable to find any signs of anyone hiding. The 3 of them had almost certainly been taken outside the guest house.
まさか隠し扉とかがあるとか。
隠し扉？
扉も窓も外から閉めることは構造上不可能です。釣り糸の類を使ってもこの構造では無理でしょうな。となれば扉や窓以外から出たと考えるのが妥当でしょう。
確かにそういう論法にもなるだろうよ。隠し扉が存在しないなんて断言は誰にもできない。しかしそういう発想に飛躍する前に俺はもっとシンプルな可能性も疑ってる。
と申しますと？
For some time, Battler had been opening windows, opening the shutters, and checking outside, and repeating this for each window.
この窓は静かだな。なるほど。この窓は他と違って建物の構造上風が吹き込まないわけか。
そのようですな。こんなにも外は風雨なのに雨も風も入ってこないとは不思議な気持ちです。
南條先生、今 窓を開けた時、音を感じたかい？
いえ、気にはなりませんでしたな。よく油が効いていると思います。
つまり、誰も見ていない廊下の窓からひょろっと抜け出すことは可能なわけだ。しかもこの窓なら風も吹き込まないから、風圧でカーテンや扉が音を立てることもない。静かなもんさ。
Battler leaned out and looked at the ground below. He was searching for some sign that George had jumped down, but at a glance, he didn't see any mark like that on the grass in the middle of a pouring rain.
こういう窓
Well, it's pouring
2階に
rain.
もあるのかもしれない。誰にも気づかれず表へ出ることは可能だぜ。
しかし扉はおろか、窓は全て施錠されて鎧戸まで閉まっていましたぞ。出ることは可能でも閉めることは不可能だ。
閉められるぜ。こうやってカチャン。
Battler closed the window and locked it, as though this was perfectly obvious.
バトラさんが。
最後に中の人間が鍵を閉めれば、こんな密室は朝飯前だ。
しかしそれでは。
Nanjo turned pale and shook his head several times, because the thing that Battler said was presenting a certain truth to him that was frightening even to imagine.
俺の想像したトリックならな。しかしこんなトリックを使えば怪しまれる人物は極めて限定される。
He didn't know what to say in front of Nanjo, but after eliminating Jessica, who had been with him the whole time, the only ones who could have done it were Nanjo and Ava.
私はそんなことをしませんぞ。誓ってもいい。
I feel so bad. They're always picking on my boy Nanjo.
となるとエヴァおばさんと南條先生のアリバイ合戦ってことになる。俺たちは2人とも怪しんで、それぞれを別々に監禁すればいいだけの話。逆に言えばこのトリックはもっと生存者が多ければ有効かもしれないが、これだけ人数が減った状況下では大して有効ではないんだ。
No. In fact, there's a chance they could dig their own grave with it. It should have been more expedient to make it look like the culprit was outside, and to intentionally leave a door unlocked or break a window.
もしこの失踪劇が今日の昼にでも起これば、俺は自信満々にこの説を発表しただろうよ。だがこの段階に至っては全然自信が持てないぜ。何なんだこいつは。一体何を意味してやがるんだこの密室はよ。
やはりその。
なんだい南條先生、思いつきでもいいから言ってくれよ。
Because Dr. Danjo looked like he was trying to swallow his words. Despite having thought of something, I urged him on. After he refused several times, saying that it was just a foolish idea, he finally said it out loud.
やはりこれは本当に魔女。
Oh
バ
fuck.
カバカしい。魔女なんているわけがねえぜ。
魔女は私たちに訴えたいのです。人間にはできないことをやってのけるからこそ、自分を魔女だと認めさせたいに違いないのです。
You got it right, Nanjo.
私はこ
Actually,
のゲ
yeah.
ストハウス全体の密室からの失踪は、そういう魔女からのメッセージだと感じています。考えてはならないのです。意味なんてきっとないのです。私は恐ろしい。
As Dr. Nanjo shook with fear, it looked like he was trying to erase the fearsome thoughts that he kept imagining one after the other. When he went downstairs, Auntie Ava and Jessica were enraged. And were each making a lot of noise about leaving this place and searching for their respective families. It was a desire that naturally hits those who can no longer see their family. Auntie Ava told Dr. Nanjo and me to stay here, but I shook my head and started walking.
もう引きこもりはたくさんだぜ。俺も外の空気を吸いたくなってきた。
ああ、 行くならさっさと行こうぜ。もうこんなところに閉じこもってるのは真っ平さ。早く父さんや母さんやジョージ兄さん探しに行こう。
The blood had risen to Jessica's head. I hope it doesn't set off her asthma.
残りたい人は勝手に残ってればいいわ。とにかく私たちは表を探してくるわ。
南條先生はどうする？一人で留守番してるかい？
いえ、私もご一緒させてください。
Oh man, this old. Come on, man, be a little more kind to this old geezer. If the alternative was holding up alone in a guest house, whose security was by no means guaranteed, it would be better to be in a danger zone as a group of 4 people. Auntie Ava was holding the gun. Moving separately from her was almost like asking to be made into the next victim. Dude, there's only what a fucking odd. Only these 4. In this way, the 4 of us decided to leave the guest house. We'd barricaded ourselves in, saying we'd be safe if we did, and then lost 8 people. It was almost as though this had been nothing more than a holding cell from which the sacrifices could be killed one after another. We removed the chain, unlocked the front door, and opened it. It was already pitch black out. While there were some lights outside which dimly lit the pathway, they didn't have enough power to illuminate the darkness that some suspicious person was likely to be hiding in.
行くわよ。遅れても知らないんだからね。
Still holding her gun, Auntie Ava dashed out without an umbrella. Jessica followed after her. After looking at each other, Dr. Nanjo and I chased after them. Oh, don't run too fast. It's raining. What in the world is happening in this mansion on this island? Since yesterday, I've just been shut up in the cousin's room in the guest house with the rest of my cousins, so I don't know anything about what's been going on outside. Just what has been happening in those places I don't know about. Outside the room, in the mansion, and on this island, everything is occurring, everything is proceeding, and everything is ending without my knowing it. Somewhere in my heart, I had already begun to give up. Most likely, not one of us will see tomorrow morning. When the seagulls cry, none shall be left alive. Bitch, they had to name drop it. Oh shit. I'm gonna have to end it right here. Oh shit, I fucking hit. Yeah, that is big. Yeah, the witch's courtroom, this one is gonna be so fucking long. Next episode is gonna be fucking crazy, I just know it. Again, my theories, Beatrice, she just, Battler said that if she learns to pretty much appreciate life and to not be as cruel, he'll play with her again. And she went to exactly do just that immediately after. I thought it was gonna take more time, but already she revived Shannon, mirroring what they were talking about with Ginzo and seeing Beatrice for just a second. Brought her back, and then he died with her immediately afterwards. But and she was disgusted, so she started to appreciate life, right? She showed some anger, some regret for what happened to them, some sadness. Yeah, that's all I have to say for now.